All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, as we are about to get underway for the second to last race for this year's League GT3 Pro Championship Series. We are about to get underway here at Watkins, Glen. This could end up being a very interesting race. Last night in the Porsche Cup event, we only had 7 drivers, yet despite that, we still had incidents all across the field, some incredibly crazy racing with only 7 drivers. Today we are looking at having twice that number with many different kinds of drivers being showcased today in many different kinds of cars. It's not everyone locked into one car. Real quickly before we get into it, let's go over the championship standings because there are still 2 championships up in the air, both the drivers and the manufacturers championship. In the Manufacturers Championship, Porsche has 76 points, but is a long way off until you get to the next team, which is Dodge with 217 points. 5th is Ferrari with 254 points. 4th is BMW with 307 points. 3rd is Aston Martin with 332 points. 2nd is Ford with 511 points. They are still within championship contention in manufacturers, and Chevy leads with 547 points right now. There is a possibility that Ford could really close the gap down. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it looks like it's going to be Ford versus Chevrolet for the Manufacturers Championship over these last 2 races. In the Drivers' Championship, let's go from the bottom to the top. In 29th will be Arrow with 9 points, and a tie for 27th is Subaru and Carl Matthews with 12 points each. 26th is Jordy with 15 points. 25th is Rebuilt with 22 points. There is a tie for 22nd between SSR Quinn, Lil Kid Suave, and Inlaid Wheat. They all have 30 points each. 21st is Dex Twilight with 31 points. Then there's a 3-way tie for 18th between VNX Ruins, SPV Matthews, and F1R Geekin. All 3 of them have 36 points each. 17th is Sir Brandy A1 with 43 points. 16th is Maserati Racer with 59 points. There's a tie for 14th between HZR Turtle and Indiel Aedolis. They both have 66 points each. There's also a tie for 12th between Diesel and Les Wick. They both have 75 points. 11th is TCPP Photo with 77 points. 10th is NWR Arcana with 84 points. 9th in the championship is Tempered with 94 points. There's a tie for 7th between SRT Jeff DXD, last night's Porsche Cup winner, and NDL Violet. Violet had an absolutely gigantic accident in qualifying here today, but both Violet and Jeff have 117 points. 6th is Rebirth with 121 points. 5th is Dex Carino with 150 points. 4th is Breezy Rain with 186 points. And then you get to your championship contenders. 3rd is NDL Shadow with 231 points. 2nd is Maze with 237 points. And leading the championship is Les Railgun with 267 points. So there is a 30-point gap between 1st and 2nd. There is a 36-point gap between 1st and 3rd. So it is still a 3-man fight for the Drivers' Championship right now. If Les Railgun ends up with a rough go at it today, that championship could still be very wide open. But let's go ahead and talk about qualifying. 3 Ford GTs have entered today's race, and they are all starting 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Their closest rival, not really close rival, the team they're trying to catch in the Manufacturers Championship are the Chevys. The Chevys are qualified much more spread out, kind of all over the field. Aston Martin Vantages were absolutely completely nowhere in qualifying. The Ferraris have shown a little bit more pace, but a lot more handling issues as well tonight. Other things to consider. Strategy could be kind of up in the air. Last night's Porsche Cup race was derailed a little bit due to a yellow flag a little bit past the halfway point in the race that put a lot of drivers onto various different strategies. One thing we can say for certain, it looked like, based off the Porsche Cup race last night, the medium tires can go 12 laps, the soft tires can go 8 laps. But in both cases, you really push them to the limit. Based off of what we've seen in the last 2 races that I've gotten to cover for this series, typically in the GT3 races, the tires have just a little bit more life to them. I think there may be a possibility that if you are a little bit cautious on your tire wear, you might be able to stretch mediums out to 13 laps. Maybe you could make the softs go 9 laps. I think that would be a little bit harder, but that could be something to keep into mind. It is going to be a 33-lap race, technically 34 because of the pace lap. It will be a 33-lap race like what we have seen before in the series. Real quickly, let's go through the field. Car Rebuilds has the pole for tonight's event, followed by Les Railgun, who is fighting to take the championship. Manuel Pedro will be 3rd and last of the 4 GTs. Then right behind him will be the highest of the Chevrolet qualifiers. That is Maze there, and he is going to be starting in 4th. 5th will be NDL Violet, despite having a massive accident and saying his lap very early in the session. Normally that means that you would likely get nipped later, but Violet still put on a top 5 qualifying time. Then you have Breezy Rain here, the next highest of the Chevrolets. Then SSR Quinn, the highest of the Dodge Viper qualifiers. After that is the other Ferrari of Carr Matthews. After that is Rebirth Quint here, another Dodge, followed by Tempered Chip, the last of 3 Chevrolets. So not only does Mays have some work to do, he has to fight with the Fords, but Tempered Chip has to figure out a way to climb up the field here. CLN Clinical is going to be last of the Dodge Vipers in tonight's event, followed by Aero 592, who's going to be the only Porsche in tonight's event, and then the Aston Martin Vantages of TCPP Photo and IRT Subaru. Photo seems to have pulled off circuit for a moment, not really sure what's going on there, but yeah, and then IRT Subaru will round out the back of the grid, and that is what the field looks like. So very, very heavily segmented based on manufacturer ability today. And I do want to go ahead and say thank you to Wiza for being willing to do safety car and pace car duties for tonight's event here at Watkins. But we are going to be looking at a 14-car field. Last night's race was absolutely insane. This race, we're going to have twice the number of cars, and there is still championships both in drivers and manufacturers on the line. Reminder, the Porsche Cup Series, all those championships are basically already done and accounted for. They're just racing for kicks and racing for fun at this point. Things are still on the line here, and not even if you're not in the fight for the championship hunt itself. If the fight just goes down to a fight for second and third, they're not massive, but there are small cash prizes for a top 3 finishers in the Drivers' Championship. So even if Les Railgun leaves tonight's race with more than 41 points over his closest rival, which would automatically lock up the championship for him, there is still a legitimate fight to be had for second and third in the drivers as well. So still a lot of stuff to keep an eye on in this series going into next week's race, the season finale for the X League in both Porsche Cup and GT3 Pro. Coming down to the final corner, we'll likely see the field doubling up momentarily here. It will take a few laps for us to really get an idea as who is on what tire compound. Soft tires, medium tires, we don't really know what the ideal strategy is. Last night did not give us a really good chance at getting a good idea of as we come to the green flag. 7 rows, 2 cars each row, and we are underway here at Watkins Glen for 33 laps that could end up being incredibly chaotic. A bit of a shove from one Ford to the other, and it is car rebuilds on the inside, but Les Railgun is going to wrap it around the outside, and Railgun is through. Your championship leader goes to lead. Mays, one of the drivers trying to fight for the championship, and second in the championship, is already taking the fight to one of the 4 GTs, looking to the outside of Manuel and Pedro now as they go down the back straightaway. So one Chevrolet is taking the fight to the Fords early on here. The 13 is going to try and go around the outside. Can he make it stick? There's a little bit of contact. He's through, but not very well. He goes to the dirt. Not only does he get passed back by a Ford, but Ferrari goes by, and one of the Dodges pull up alongside Mays briefly, try to get by him. Mays is able to keep the Dodge behind, but Mays now ends up losing a position. And now we're back to Fords being 1, 2, 3, and NDL Violet has moved up into the 4th position, that number 76 Ferrari here, and already we're seeing a big spread in the field. It seems like the top 8 cars are in a zone of their own, and everyone from 9th on back is not able to keep up with the rest of the grid, and CL in Clinical is running very slow right now in this Sakura Dodge. There has been an accident, and it looks like Clinical has terminal damage on his machine. So now the question is, are we going to see a yellow flag for Clinical's accident here? Wiza is way off circuit, and now we see the pace car moving. So we might be under a lap 1 yellow here. We'll get an idea very shortly here as our leaders come down through the final corner. And yes, we have a caution. Pace car came out a little bit late, and that's really bunched up the field, but here comes Breezy Rain. Rain's going to jump into the pits. Aero 592 is going to pit. Rebirth Quint is going to pit as well. So several drivers go ahead and pit on this lap 1 yellow flag, but it has been chaos early on here, and CL in Clinical, one of those Sakura Dodges with some incredibly significant damage, brings out the yellow flag very early here at Watkins Glen. So while we are under the yellow flag, we'll knock out a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll likely see if anyone else is going to go ahead and pit under this yellow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Watkins Glen. We are under yellow flag for a lap 1 accident that happened to CLN Clinical. Clinical still almost a minute behind the rest of the field, so this is yellow flag is going to take a long time to get cleared up. Multiple drivers, including a few drivers who were in the higher part of the midfield, went ahead and pitted. So let's go ahead and talk about strategies. If the soft tires can only last 8 laps, well, if you pit right then at the end of that first racing lap, so technically lap 2 up there, you only have 32 laps left. You're caught up with the rest of the field. You have a slight tire advantage over the rest of the field. You still have 3 more stops to make, and there we see it's Maze now jumping into the pit lane, as does Tempered Chip. So all these drivers pitting now, they're in a position where if they've gone to soft tires, they are locked into making 3 more stops over the course of the race. But not only are they only going to make 3 more stops, they do not really have to worry about any significant and severe tire life fall off over the course of the race if the rest of this race runs green. Now, for those of you who may have wanted to run on the medium tires, or you want to go all mediums to the end or something like that, medium tires lasting about 12 laps, well, 12 doesn't fit into 32 super easily. You could go ahead and cut that down to 11 laps, just run every 11 laps on the medium tires, and then pit. This strat kind of helps and kind of hurts that. On one hand, you're not really going to be pushing the tires as hard, but on the other hand, you're spending more time with the field all gathered up, and you're still burning up the tires. Not as fast, but you're still burning up the tires right now. Again, Maze, in fact, technically all 3 of your Chevrolets have pitted under this yellow flag. We saw Breezy Rain pit just as the yellow came out, and now both Maze and Tempered Chip have gone ahead and pitted a lap into the yellow. CLN Clinical still has not caught the rear of the grid. It's taking him forever to catch the rear of this field, it seems. I hope we're going to be going green this time by. But all this together means that those drivers who have already pitted, they can probably go all stops all the way through. Yes, they still have 2 more stops to... they still have to stop on about lap 10. And then they'd want to stop again on lap 20... No, they'd want to stop on lap 10, stop on lap 18, then stop on lap 26, and they'd be good to the end. So they still have 3 more stops to make, potentially. The thing is that they're really in a better position on sheer pace. If they can cut their way through the field effectively, they'll have an advantage in pace. But the big thing is, Les Railgun not only trying to wrap up and lock up the Drivers' Championship, trying to bring the Ford team into a direct head-to-head fight against the Chevy team going into next week's event, the season finale. They will have clean air, and they have already been the fastest cars on track. Yes, their tires now have a bit of a disadvantage, but they have the most important thing, arguably, and that is clean air. And now it looks like CLN Clinical has finally caught the rest of the field, so we should have the ability to go green flag this time by, I imagine. It will be a single file restart when we finally go back to the green flag here at Watkins Glen, as it is in all races in this series. Safety car still out on track, it seems. Is it not pulling off? No, there we are. Safety car pulls off now. Okay, Les Railgun took the lead using an outside line overtake, lap 1, turn 1. Now he has to restart the head of the field with 14 cars right on top of him and several of them at the back having better tires than the rest of the field. Green flag, we are underway once again here at Watkins Glen. Field fires off down into turn number 1. No real chaos or mess that time by. And now we'll take a look at them as they come up through the uphill S's. Railgun and Rebuild immediately open up a bit of a gap on Pedro there. It looks like Car Rebuilds is not really putting the pressure on Railgun. And already I'm seeing some movement from the Chevrolets. Breezy Rain up into 9th position. You can see fighting ahead from between a Dodge and a Ferrari. That would be Matthews and I believe Quinn. And now here comes Arrow, looks to the inside of Breezy Rain. And this is the problem with putting on these new tires. Sure, you've got better pace, but you are stuck in the huge hit on the outside wall by Arrow there in the lone Porsche. And Breezy Rain had to back out in the process. It looks like it's Maze who is immediately moving up. So Maze is the driver now that is taking point and trying to move the Chevrolet team forward. These tires are just a little bit fresher right now. It looks like everyone's got through the corners without too much issue. Arrow slides off circuit there in the heel of the boot. Is there damage on that Porsche? There's engine damage, but nothing that would warrant a yellow flag by the looks of it. Mays in 9th position, but he's struggling to make any move farther up the grid just because there's some mad fighting going on here. He's going to be briefly 3 wide with the Aston Martins there. Backs out, doesn't want to have to be 3 wide with them. But now he's under threat from Rebirth Quint. He's trying to be so cautious and so careful getting by these other drivers. So even though he has a tire life advantage, he's not really in a position to really press it because he's just trying to minimize instance right now. Puts a little bit of a bumper to Subaru there. Can't seem to outrun him coming into the S's here. This will let Photo get away just a little bit. So Railgun, Rebuilds, and Pedro already scooting away from the rest of the field, although Violet is trying desperately to hold on to the rear of those leading 3 Ferraris. Through the bus stop chicane. Subaru is running an intensely defensive line right now. And the process, it's letting the other Aston of TCPP Photo scoot away just a little bit. That is one thing we have seen develop in the X League over the last several races, and both Porsche Cup and GT3 Pro. A lot of drivers sometimes get so hyper-focused on defending that sure, they compromise their races, but it has a massive negative knock-on effect on other drivers as well. And May seems to be really struggling with that at the moment, still tucked up behind IRT Subaru. The tire advantage that the Chevys have is absolutely not playing out. They've already fallen 6.5 seconds off of the leaders. Now Mays misses the corner just a little bit. Oh, but so do the Astons. Not a great line out by any of them. In fact, you can see the Dodges back there of Quinton Clinical also going off. The Chevy now looks to the outside of Subaru and now tries to cross him over on corner exit. Arrow's going to come into the pits. Likely says the engine damage is too bad. So another rough time for the Porsches. So Mays finally pulls up alongside Subaru. Will he clear him coming out of turn 1? He does. And Mays finally can try and put some focus forward. NDL Violet has already lost touch with the lead trio and is now being passed by SSR Quinn. Real quick, let's go ahead. Look at the tire life of everyone in the field right now. Les Railgun, 38% tire life right now. Car Rebuilds, who runs in 2nd position after starting on pole, 40%. So a little bit more tire life where on Rebuilds than Manuel Pedro in 3rd, 41%. SSR Quinn in the Dodge, who's just moved up into the 4th spot, he is at 43%. Then NDL Violet, who's running around in 5th position right now, 43% on the rears. After that, Carr Matthews in the 2nd highest Ferrari right now. He's at 43%. Following that is TCPP Photo. He is at 47%, so really bad tire life there on the Aston. And then you have Mays, who's the highest of everyone who pitted under the yellows. He's only at 26% right now. He's still, though, 8 seconds off of the leaders right now. Yes, our leaders are likely going to lose some ground when their tires are falling off, but it's just not mattering. Even when he got a bit of a lap in clean air, though, he's still losing ground to the Fords. It seems like the balancing today has massively favored the Fords in the event now, and Mays is really having trouble making something happen with the Chevys. We've seen for a long time that it's been very hard to get the Chevys to be competitive over a full race run. Single lap pace, we've seen plenty of times in many different GT3 series that you can go fast. Oh, Violet's pitting. Violet's pitting at the end of lap 8. So Violet is pitting much earlier than anticipated, interestingly enough. So that's one less car that Mays will have to worry about overtaking as he is side by side with TCPP Photo. Mind you, Tempered Ship is also gotten by Subaru as well, but Breezy Rain is still stuck at the back of the grid. So while one Chevy is moving up the field aggressively and one Chevy is slowly moving up, the other Chevrolet just is not making any serious forward progress, it seems. Mays has made his way up into the 6th position. The next car he'll have to deal with will be a Ferrari, and then after that, a Dodge. But he may not have to fight both of them, partially because he's still under pressure from Photo, but also partially because those drivers may pit sooner rather than later due to tire fault. Big thing, though, obviously we had the pace lap, but we also had 2 more laps, or a little bit over 2 more laps under the yellow flag. That means that those drivers can go slightly farther on their tires, so they've not really been hurting the wheel at full speed into these corners. Their tires have a little bit more life left in them than normal. So Mays, the leader on this alternate strategy, trying to make something happen, but he is already 9.5 seconds out from the lead trio of Railgun, Rebuilt, and Manuel Pedro. while I think that Mays is on an ideal strategy here, it does feel to me that the sheer pace advantage of the Ford GTs is going to let them lock up a podium result for all three of them. No one else seems to have anything for the Ford GTs, unless they end up having some incredibly intense tire fall off later on in the event, or they choose to throw on the medium tires to try and bridge the gap over the rest of this race, and they lose a bunch of time in the process then. But even then, if you have three, and Cars Matthews pits out 5th position, Mays was not expecting that. Mays has to slide wide to not hit Matthews in the process. So Mays has one fewer car to pass, but now he's already 10 and a half seconds out from the leaders. And now he's closing in on SSR Quinn in the Dodge Viper. Quinn's tires are at 58% right now. And I look at our leaders of Railgun, Rebuilds, and Pedro. Pedro's really falling off of the other two Ferraris right now. 54% wear for Railgun. For Rebuilds, who runs in second, 56%. So Railgun is doing a better job managing his tires right now, potentially just backing off a little bit more in the corners, trying to save a little bit of tire life right now, so he doesn't have the massive fall off later. Mays now still hanging out about 10 seconds behind these leading Fords at the moment. So are the Fords going to go 10 laps on the softs, or are they only going to be able to go 9 laps? Again, we had 2 extra laps under the yellow flag. In theory, that should have let them save a little bit more fuel and a little bit of tire life. But are they going to go ahead and commit to an earlier strategy, or are they going to extend by an extra lap or 2? Soft tires normally can only go 8 laps. What can our Ford GT drivers do right now, though? Mays still 10 seconds out from our leading Ford GT, so they're not in a position of losing lots of time yet, although Pedro is hemorrhaging time compared to his Ford GT teammates. It looks like all 3 of the Ford GTs will stay out another lap here, and I don't really blame them for that choice. So they're getting at least 1 extra lap out of the soft tires. So 9 laps on the soft, technically 10. Potentially, they could still go only soft tires. If they can make this stick, they could just go soft tires only to the end. If they pit at the end of lap 10, then pit again at the end of lap 18, pit again at the end of lap 26, if we stay green to the end, they will be fine on tire life to the checkered flag. And they have a massive amount of track position advantage over Mays right now, but now it looks like Car Rebuilds is starting to hemorrhage ground to Railgun. Photo and Subaru have both pitted. They can't make their tires last any longer, but the Ford GTs, along with SSR Quinn's Dodge, are making something of it, although Quinn has now lost the position to Mays. Quinn is just about to hit 70% tire life right now. I look at our leader, though, Les Railgun. He is only at 65%. So the Ford GTs have not only a massive pace advantage, they have a massive advantage when it comes to tire life as well. So sure, I think this is the suboptimal strategy compared to Mays' strategy, but when you have such a massive, monstrous pace advantage and tire life advantage, it does not matter. You can run a blatantly inferior strategy and not really be compromised by it, and that seems to be the case now. Mays is finally taking time out of these cars, but not enough time. Oh, big slide off there by Manuel Pedro. I don't think he's taken enough time. If Mays can even catch Manuel, I think I'd be impressed. The Ford GTs just seem to be that good. Les, Railgun, Rebuilds, and Manuel Pedro all jump into the pits this time by. I imagine we'll see SSR Quinn pit as well. So this should put It's Mays in the Chevrolet into the lead of this race. So Mays is going to be pitting, I think, a little bit later than these drivers for most of the rest of this race. I think. I could be wrong, but I think that's going to be what we will see. Maybe only 1 lap later. But still, Mays will not have any serious tire fall off to the end. But the thing is, the Ford GTs have a ridiculous performance advantage in both lap times and tire wear. And Mays has not shown the ability to make that happen as well, though. And the thing is, again, in the Manufacturers' Championship, it has to be a team thing. And coming out of the pits, Mays is leading, but he still has 5.5 seconds between himself and Tempered Ship. And then Breezy Rain is still way back here in 5th. Breezy Rain has just had no pace, no potential at all today. So the Chevy's kind of showing up with one good leg, one bad leg, and then one lame duck leg, it seems, while the entire Ford GT camp has come out in force with aggression tonight. Rebirth Quint, 3rd right now in the Dodge. 64% on the tire life. Reminder, Quint was the driver who crashed that brought out the yellow flag. So he's got a little bit more tire life right now, simply because he did pit under that yellow as well. But surely he'll come in and pit this time by. But Rebirth Quint trying to push deep into the tires on this alternate strategy right now. Try and make something happen on an alternate strategy. Maze is already pitting. Maze has only gone to lap 11, and now he's pitting. What's his tires looking like? That's 63%. Ooh, that's just not looking good then. So now Tempered Chip in the different Chevrolet goes to the lead, but he's already at 64% tire life right now. So are the softs tires not able to last as long as we thought for the non-Ford GT cars? Because basically Maze only stayed out 1 lap longer. Huh. I mean, granted, Maze didn't have to deal with any serious tire fall off. Tempered Chip's going to have to, but still, this could be really problematic for Maze. And the other thing as well, Maze is still right behind NDL Violet now. And while he has a tire life advantage over Violet again, it's going to be hard to make anything happen. Railgun and Rebuilds are still right on top of each other on this primary strategy. Also, Breezy Rain is still 2nd at the moment. Tempered Chip leads. So now we're starting to see permutations upon permutations in the strategies right now. I guess we shouldn't be too concerned about Maze's pitting now, but I just can't help but feel concerned. And man, Manuel Pedro seems to really be having trouble. He has good pace compared to all the non-Ford GT cars, but that car is really sliding around, and he's having trouble keeping it on circuit, it seems. If he keeps sliding off like this, he will be caught by NDL Violet before this is over. Breezy Rain is now starting to close in on Tempered Chip, but Breezy Rain is only at 50% tire life right now. Tempered Chip, on the other hand, is at 72%. So it looks like, to me, Breezy Rain, when he made his pit stop, he put on the medium tires and not the soft tires. So Breezy Rain's going to be out on track for quite a long period of time. We could see Breezy Rain on the circuit possibly until lap 15, lap 16, something around there. I think around lap 15 would likely be when Breezy Rain goes ahead and pits. So while he's not had a lot of pace, Breezy Rain trying to make an alternate tire strategy work to do something today. Maze is still well off of Violet. Violet nowhere close to Pedro. And while Rebuilds and Railgun are running right on top of each other, there does not seem to be any reason for the Ford GT team to fight amongst each other. Although right now it is Rebuilds who is ahead of Railguns. They are willing to swap positions if one is significantly faster than the other, my guess is. Railgun trying to lock up and secure his driver's championship. If he can finish well clear, if he just finishes podium, more than likely he'll have that championship locked up. He had a 30-point advantage over Maze coming into the event today. If he can leave here with a 40-point advantage, he will have the championship mathematically locked up. He did also have, I believe it was NDL Violet, I believe it was, who was 3rd in the championship as well, who was 36 points out. But while Violet has shown some pace, it's nothing compared to what the Ford GTs have right now. The real focus, I think, is going to be on the Manufacturers' Championship. Pedro continuing to slide around back there. 3 seconds, roughly, off of this duo, I think. And now this group are starting to close in on Breezy Rain. And Rain is here in the Chevrolet. He's got some worn-out medium tires. I imagine he'll pit, maybe not at the end of this lap, at the end of the next lap. The question is he going to be a good driver and just let the Ford GTs go, or is he going to try and hold them up? If he can hold them up, it would help his team out massively. in the Manufacturers Championship give his teammate Mays, and to somewhat of a lesser extent Tempered Ship, some sort of a shot at trying to close down in the fight. Looks like Railgun and Rebuilds have a little bit of a disagreement on who's going to lead. So now Railgun goes back in front of Rebuilds, coming out of the S's, and still leads coming out of the bus stop. Now through turn 9, and they come back into the boot. Field has gotten very spread out this stage of the event. And that is Clinical, Rebirth, Quint, and Tempered Ship all on top of each other for 9th, 10th, and 11th there. Alright, Railgun has caught Breezy Rain. Rain has the ideal inside line though. How aggressive is he going to be defending against the Ford GT? Well, it may not matter. That Ford GT has such perfect traction. Wraps around the outside, just goes right by. Railgun back to the lead here. Breezy Rain could not hold these drivers up if he wanted to. Ford GTs just are way better in lap time and way better on tire life, it would appear. And I think, while they will have some tire fall off as the race goes on, I think these Ford GTs are going to be in a perfect position to walk this race. No one is going to be close to them. NDL Violet has fallen well back down the grid, it seems. Has there been an accident? No accident. No, he's out of fuel! NDL Violet has run himself out of fuel! The faster of the two Ferraris is completely out of fuel. He is limping around the track right now. And a possible outside shot at the podium, because it looked like Violet may have had a shot to close down Manuel Pedro, but Violet's outside shot at the podium has basically been completely derailed with that. So this moves Mays now up into the 5th position, but he is still 8 seconds, or about 7.5 seconds off from Manuel Pedro. The Chevys have nothing for the Fords tonight. So unless our Ford teammates here at the head of the field have some sort of accident or a major strategy kerfluffle, their closest hint of a rival is gone. There is not going to be any serious threat against the Ford GTs. They are going to walk out tonight's race 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. They have a massive pace advantage, a massive tire life advantage, and while I think they are slightly off on strategy, it's just not going to matter when the pace and the tire life is that superior. Alright, real quickly, let's look farther down the grid. This is CL in Clinical. Behind him is teammate Rebirth Quint, and then behind him, behind them both, is Tempered Ship. Ship doesn't really seem to be able to crank out any fantastic laps here. The Chevy just seems to be here, but is just completely lame duck. Frustrating time for the Chevrolets, because while one driver is doing everything he can't do anything to fight with his rivals, and that's the best. The other two Chevys just are absolutely nowhere, it would appear. It does look like, though, Breezy Rain still can see the Ford GTs ahead of him, but he's pitting now, so he made it to lap 15, which is about where I said he would make it before finally pitting. So he's got 18 laps left in the event. 18 laps isn't really great unless he's planning on more yellow late in the event. Soft tires can last 8 laps, not 9 laps. Cars Matthews is going to jump into the pits with Breezy Rain here. So Mays now moves up in the 4th position. He is still 7 seconds roughly off of Manuel Pedro, 11 seconds off the leading duo of Railgun and Rebuilds. The Chevrolet team has led in the Manufacturers Championship nearly the entire season, but I think coming home 1, 2, 3 today, with the Chevys being 4th, 6th, and 13th, I think they may not only lose their lead in the Manufacturers Championship, they may be on the back foot going into the season finale next week. After paying NDL Violets ended up 13th, still just ahead of Arrow, who had to pit shortly after the yellow flag for massive engine damage. We had an accident back on lap 1, but we have been running clean and green ever since. Manuel Pedro losing touch with Railgun and Rebuilds. Mays also losing touch, but Mays is trying to close in at least on Manuel to try and take some of the burn off from today's event. So as we are coming up on the race's halfway point, we're going to go ahead and run on board with Les Railgun for a flying lap here around Watkins Glen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Watkins Glen. We are watching our top two, Les Railgun and Car Rebuilds, as they have streaked away from the rest of the field. Nobody is on their level. Their teammate Manuel Pedro is kind of hanging out in no man's land in third position. Then way back and forth is It's Maze, who was second in the championship coming into today's race and basically the head of the Chevy team that's leading in the Manufacturers Championship. But they are not really having a good time of it right now in the Chevy camp. Then you have SSR Quinn reigning in fifth right now, trying to make a radically alternate strategy work. Then you have CLN Clinical, who crashed lap one, brought out an early yellow flag, but that's put him on an alternate strategy. He's ranked sixth right now. Oh, something happened to Rebuilds! Did something happen to Rebuilds? Something has happened to Rebuilds! One of the four GTs have had an accident! The engine is still fine, but the steering is damaged, the driveline is damaged, and suddenly an issue, a sink, in the Ford GT camp develops. Car Rebuilds has an exit with 16 laps to go all of a sudden. He falls behind Manuel Pedro, and It's Maze is coming up to close on him. Now, big thing is, though, it's 16 laps to go, so once Rebuilds makes it into the pit lane, it's not the worst thing ever. He can put on a set of soft tires and keep going. It's not the worst thing ever, but he's going to lose a massive amount of time now. And Car Rebuilds, your pole setter for tonight's race, now sees It's Maze closing in on him. Coming through the heel of the boot, there's nothing that damaged Ford GT can do. Maze gets back into the podium positions. But a chink, a malfunction, a problem, and what looked like a surefire podium for the Ford GTs. Now, to be fair, I do think the Fords could still pull out a first, second, third result here. Les Railgun pits, Manuel Pedro pits. But Car Rebuilds is going to be way behind his teammates and rivals on track here, and he's barely able to get that car turned in to bring it in the pit lane. It's Maze goes into the lead here. Reminder, It's Maze pitted a lap later than the other four GTs after the first round of green flag stops. Now we're in the second round. Same thing again. Maze pitting just a little bit later. Rebirth Quint in the Dodge is going to go by all of the four GTs except Les Railgun, though. Les Railgun is going to come out of pit lane in second spot, and he'll have a massive tire life advantage. I think Les Railgun has this race win in the bag, no doubt, as long as he doesn't have a mistake. But Car Rebuilds, who had been running second, your pole sitter, still in pit lane. Only now has he come out of the pits, but he's going to be behind another one of the Chevrolets in the form of Breezy Rain. Now, he does have a lot of clean track ahead, and I imagine a lot of the drivers ahead of him will be pitting sooner rather than later, so Rebuilds has plenty of time in clean air, but he has to now dig himself out of a hole, focus forward, because his rival is now going to be your current race leader, It's Maze. He has to figure out a way to maximize time to catch Maze and then put Maze back behind him to try and re-secure a podium lockout for the Ford GT camp. I would say one interesting thing to come out of that, no yellow flag from that, as Tempered Ship has now caught Rebirth Quint side by side. He's going to try and go the long way around in the toe of the boot here at Watkins Glen. Powers down, but the Dodge had that ideal inside line, is able to stay ahead of the Chevy just a little bit longer here. Manuel Pedro runs about 2 seconds behind this duo, but both these drivers have much more worn tires right now. Tempered Ship is at 57% tire life right now, but he goes right by Rebirth Quint as if Quint was standing still. Quint 63% tire life right now, and Maze pits 1 lap later than the 4 GTs as anticipated. So I imagine Maze will make his final stop around lap 27. And it looks like Rebirth Quint's going to pit this lap as well. Tempered Ship's going to stay out for another cycle. Other thing considered, Breezy Rain, we don't really know what his strategy was. He threw on a set of medium tires on earlier set. I think he may have put on the mediums again because he doesn't have a lot of tire wear on that car either. So Breezy Rain trying to minimize pit stops to try and salvage some kind of decent result in tonight's event. So Les Railgun goes back to the lead. Tempered Ship right now, though, is running in second. So while they have not had the pace, they are taking advantage of that lap 1 yellow to try and make an alternate strategy work to put themselves into something close to a decent position. Tempered Ship is likely going to pit at the end of this lap. I don't know if Manuel Pedro is going to catch them, and if he does, I don't know if Tempered Ship's going to be in a position to really hold Manuel Pedro up at all. It's Maze runs about 8 seconds behind Manuel Pedro right now. All right, into the toe of the boot, one of the heavier braking zones here. Pedro looks to the inside of the Chevy, makes contact, gets the rear of his Ford GT, a little sideways after making contact. He's sideways again, putting the power down, coming out. He's getting a little bit anxious trying to get by here. This is exactly what Mays needs. He needs Pedro to be held up by Tempered Chip, just so Mays has a shot to get by another one of the Ford GTs. Here comes a dive to the inside by number 55 Ford GT, and he will clear the 21. All right, so Pedro clears him, but now the gap between Pedro and Les Railgun, 8 seconds between Railgun and Pedro now. So Railgun cruising with no issue. I think it is very likely Railgun will lock up the Drivers' Championship, but the Manufacturers' Championship is still up for play here. Tempered Chip finally pits on lap 21, so with 13 laps to go, I think we might see Tempered Chip throw on the medium tires and try to limp the mediums home to cut out another pit stop here. That's what I imagine he'll go for at least. You could go softs again. You'd still have to make another stop, but in that case, if he wanted to go softs again, he could decide to only stay out for 7 laps and 6 laps, have no tire fall off whatsoever. We'll try to keep an eye on Tempered Chip to see what his strategy is going to be. Car Rebuilt has just about caught Breezy Rain here, and up ahead for Breezy Rain is the leader in the Chevy team right now. It's Mays. So Rebuilt's trying to focus forward to run back down on It's Mays. He was your pole sitter, and he's going to go right by the Chevy like there's nothing there. Breezy Rain on what we believe are medium tires, just not going to have any way to really fight back. Even though he denies the Ford GT the ideal inside line as they come into the boots, it just doesn't matter. The Ford GT has the grip to hold the outside line, which gives him the inside as they come into the toe of the boot. Easy overtake by Car Rebuilds as now he's focused forward on Mays. Mays right now runs about 9 seconds behind Pedro. So yes, Pedro was held up by one of the Chevys, but it's not mattering. Mays just does not have the pace to run down Pedro, it seems. At least not right now. Although Pedro does lose a lot more time later in the tire run, I don't think it's going to be enough for Mays to really catch him. All right, let's go ahead and look at the penalties at this stage of the race. Ooh, Pedro, 2.3 seconds of time penalties. That's not looking good, but the only other drivers with time penalties are Subaru, Rebirth Quint, and Tempered Chip. Tempered Chip, one of your Chevys with 1.8 seconds of penalties. It's not going to help him, obviously. But Manuel Pedro in a Ford GT, that could put him under pressure if Mays puts together some great laps. He doesn't necessarily have to pass Pedro on track. If he's just behind Pedro, might still be able to nip him that way. So we'll try to keep an eye on that as the event goes on here. NDL Violet still trying to make the recovery drive. Had a big accident back in qualifying in the bus stop chicane with the left front quarter panel hit the tire barrier that was in the bus stop chicane section. Caught a huge amount of air, almost did a kickflip with the car. Still qualified 5th though, still had the 5th best lap after qualifying was over, but then ran out of fuel in this race, which has not only put him behind the 8 ball in track position, he's now on a wildly alternate strategy of his own. Violet's just trying to salvage anything out of this race that he possibly can. He sees Tempered Chip ahead, but mind you, Tempered Chip is on fresher tires right now, so it's going to be a little harder for Violet to run him down at the moment. And just ahead of Tempered Chip is CLN Clinical here in that Dodge Viper, who also had that lap 1 accident as well. Car Rebuild's not really running down on Mays super fast at the moment. Manuel Pedro still 8.5 seconds off your leader, Les Railgun. Mays runs about another 9 seconds off, almost 10 seconds off of Manuel Pedro right now. Violet's starting to close in on Tempered Chip now, but at the same time, Tempered Chip is closing in on Clinical, so we may have a little menage a trois here for what's currently in the 9th place on track. No, we're not. NDL Violet's jumping into the pits now with, it will be 12 laps to go, so Violet's probably throwing on the medium tires as well, betting on making no more pit stops for the rest of this race. Try and salvage some kind of result, and IRT Subaru back in 13th is paying as well, so he's going to likely do pretty much the same thing here. So Tempered Chip will be unaccosted as he's trying to run down on CLN Clinical in that Viper. Again, we're not sure what Tempered Chip's strategy is. We don't know if he's throwing on the medium tires or the softs. He's at 19% tire wear. I think Tempered Chip threw on the soft tires. My guess is that Tempered Chip is committing to making one more stop before this race is over. So we had an accident lap 1. We ran about 2 laps under the yellow flag circumstances, which has offset several different drivers' strategies here, but it seems like nothing is really matching the Ford GTs in pace or the ability to manage their tire life. Car Rebuilds is just having a little bit of trouble trying to recover from an accident that we think happened in the bus stop chicane. We missed it though. Now it happened on his in lap, so he's not terribly behind the 8 ball, but he sees it's Mays ahead. His focus has got to be to catch Mays and dispose of Mays as fast as possible, so that way the Ford GT team can re-secure a lockout of the podium to put themselves nice and even with everyone else. Mazza. Who's Mazza? Oh, Mays. Mays' tire life right now, just for comparison, as Mays has been paying 1 lap later than the Ford GTs. He is at 33.6% tire life right now. His rival on track, Car Rebuilds, at the moment is at 40%. So we're anticipating that Rebuilds will, along with the other 2 Ford GTs of Manuel Pedro and Les Railgun, we're anticipating that they will be paying on lap 26. Mays, we think, will pit on lap 27. Although Mays might elect to pit 1 lap earlier if he thinks it would benefit him. He has that freedom to try and make that happen. Mays still runs. Right now, he's fallen almost 12 seconds, about 11 seconds right now off of Manuel Pedro. So yeah, the Chevys just do not have anything to compare to the Ford GT in either pace or tire life. Mays is going to be in for the fight of his life, trying to just keep Car Rebuilds behind. Tempered Chip has had an accident. Tempered Chip has had an instant there coming into the boot. He's able to get going, but it goes from bad to worse for the Chevy team. That Tempered Chip had a big gap from him to the rest of the cars behind him, but this will put him now in potential position to be clipped by NDL Violet later on the event. Still, no damage to Tempered Chip, though, so he'll be able to continue. No issue, but this does relieve CLN Clinical, I imagine, because now he's not going to be accosted from a Chevy behind him now, as he's looking ahead at his teammate Rebirth Quint in 7th. Just for a little bit of comparison, Quint is at 40% tire life right now. CLN Clinical's tire life is 49%. And now, once again, we look at what is developing a fight for 3rd position here. Rebuilt, your pole sitter. One of the fastest drivers all day, though, had a big hiccup, a big accident. We believe it was in the bus stop chicane. Is trying to recover from that. Less than 10 laps to go right now. Well, it's exactly 10 laps to go right now. There'll be 9 to go when the leader hits the line. Manuel Pedro still about 12 seconds ahead of Mays. So as long as Pedro doesn't have an accident or disconnect or anything like that, he's going to secure a 2nd place. Ooh, Car Rebuilds. You can tell he's really driving everything he has out of that car with how much he's sliding that thing around, trying to close in on the Chevy here. Now, catching him is going to be one thing. Passing him is going to be the other. The Chevy does have a tire life advantage, and Rebuilds is going to catch Mays just as his tires get to their worst part. Although now you see Mays go into the dirt there. Bit of a slide again. The Ford GT has just about caught the Chevy. He's in the draft now. And whether Rebuilds passes him this lap or not, I don't think it will matter, because Rebuilds will pit at the end of this lap, and I think he'll still clip Mays just on the speed he'll have on the out lap more than likely. Because Mays is going to, if he stays out one more lap, he'll deal with some significant tire fall off. Rebuilt's looking to the inside of Mays, but not going to make the move this time. He's trying to be a little bit more cautious in the bus stop chicane. He's already had one instant there. Nice defense drive by Mays, but Rebuilts has got alongside him anyway, though. Side by side between the two of them. And with that, that move will likely re-secure a podium lockout for the Ford GT camp. Although Rebuilds is dealing with some tire fall off, though. As you can see, he's already at 60% right now. Actually, they might stay out one lap longer. No, they'll come in this time by. Les Railgun's pitted out of the lead, as expected. Now Manuel Pedro pits out of second. We're likely going to see Rebuilds go ahead and pit. And then Mays will stay out, we believe, for one lap longer, retake the lead briefly here. But then he'll pit the lap afterwards. And everyone should be on soft tires to the end of the race now. Well, at least of our lead group. Tempered Ship and Breezy Rain were both on alternate tire strategies, but Breezy Rain has gotten back onto the main strategy. And Tempered Ship, we're not 100% sure what they're going to do here. Are they going to be pitting this time or not? No, they can probably stay out for another lap, maybe 2 more laps. So they'll have an extra lap of life in these tires. But again, with that spin they had earlier, they've lost way too much time on track. They're not really in a position to do anything. Right now, Temper Ship has to worry about trying to cover off NDL Violet, who is not going to pit again to the end of this race. And while Mays leads, once again, Les Railgun runs in second, only about 2 seconds off from Mays. Car Rebuilds is already closing the gap rapidly down between himself and Mays. So yeah, when they come out of the pits, Rebuilds is going to be well ahead of Mays here. This is not even going to be close. So Ford GTs lock out the podium in qualifying, and while they've had a little bit of drama, they are going to lock out the podium in the race as well. And Les Railgun, who we are watching right now, is going to secure his Drivers' Championship tonight because none of his rivals are going to be finishing anywhere close to him. He's going to leave this race with more than 40 points and will lock up the Drivers' Championship. And the Ford GTs will be on even, if not better footing than the Chevys going into the final race. What is Tempered Ship going to do? Is he going to pit this lap as well? Yes, he does. So Breezy Rain is in 6th spot. What is Rain's strategy? He is going to stay out another lap. No, he's already pitted. I think he's actually already pitted, so I do apologize for that. So Breezy Rain briefly is going to end up ahead of Tempered Ship here. And it looks like Tempered Ship's going to lead a lot of other drivers. Oh, Violet's pitted as well. So Violet has to pit again. No damage on the car, and there's still a lot of tire life left. My guess is that he said he wasn't feeling confident with the mediums, so he's aborted. So that gives a lot of relief to Tempered Ship now. Because yes, he had that spin earlier, but now he is going to be ahead of most of his rivals. So as this race comes to the end, as long as the Chevys don't have too bad of an issue, while it's very obvious that the balancing for today's race has been not very well designed. The Chevy team, in the end, has used some strategy masterclass here to come with their best possible result. It looks like they might be able to secure a 4th, 5th, 6th result. Now, it's still going to put them way behind the 8 ball in terms of points against the 1, 2, 3 finishes from the Ford, but I think they're putting everything together well enough to try and minimize the loss going to the end here. Manuel Pedro's pitting! Why is Manuel Pedro pitting again? Manuel Pedro's coming back into the pits! I don't see damage in the car. Did we have a yellow? We have a caution. Oh, we have a caution just as most of the field had made a pit stop, and suddenly all the advantage that the Ford GTs have are wiped out. Les Railgun and Car Rebuilds out in front right now, but it's going to be a long time until the safety car catches them. No, the safety car has already caught Car Rebuilds, but Les Railgun has not been caught. Les Railgun is still going full bore, although we are under the yellow flag. So is Les Railgun going to get an unfair free pit stop out of this? And if so, this is going to hurt Car Rebuilds, I imagine, because he's going to be on older tires compared to the rest of the field here. Okay, so now the pace car has stopped, and they're letting the field go back through here, but Les Railgun has now opened up a 40-second gap almost on his teammates, nearly a 50-second gap on Mays. So Railgun's going to get an entire free pit stop here and still be the leader. It's going to be Car Rebuilds, I think, who's going to be really kind of screwed here. Manuel Pedro pitted just as the yellow came out. Railgun's likely going to get a free pit stop here. And Rebuilds might be absolutely hosed. No, Railgun's not pitting. Railgun's decided not to pit. Oh, that's interesting. So Railgun is deciding not to pit, and he's still turning laps at full bore. We are under the yellow flag, I imagine. Weiza has moved on the circuit. Les Railgun turning laps full bore right now. The thing is, I don't know if Railgun's aware of it or not, but he is still putting wear on his tires right now, something that his teammates, Rebuilt and obviously Pedro, who just pitted, are not doing right now. Mays also went ahead, put on some new tires just as the yellow flag came out as well, so Railgun is going to be on worn tires. Now, more worn tires. Now, I don't know if that's really going to hurt him here, but look at this. He still has a 40-second lead on his closest teammate, Car Rebuilt, and Mays is nearly an entire minute out. This is going to be an incredibly long yellow flag, and we are so late in this race, it may not matter. Okay, so wait, Railgun's... Where's Weiza? Did the pace car not grab... Yeah, the pace car missed our leader again! Oh, this is... controversy and confusion with the pace car once again. So the pace cars missed picking up the leader not once but twice now. Alright, we're going to take a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll see the run to the end of this race. But this is all sorts of chaos in the box right now, in the officiating box. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Watkins Glen. With 4 laps to go, we are under the yellow flag, and it's going to take a long time for the field to gather up here. Les Railgun, Car Rebuilds, Manuel Pedro, 1, 2, 3. But Railgun and Rebuilds are on more worn tires than Pedro, although Pedro has been slower than the two of them most of the day. Pedro got a free pit stop just as the yellow flag came out. So did Mays, and I believe at least one other Chevrolet. They've also gone ahead and let CL and Clinical and Car Matthews run around to get back onto the lead lap. So if they're going to wait for Clinical and Matthews to catch the rear of the grid, we are going to have a long yellow flag period. We may be looking at a NASCAR-style green-white checkered finish here, depending on how long this goes. Because right now, there is no... Well, I do think we're going to see Arrow, Violet, and Subaru catch the rear of the grid before we get to the end of this lap. Clinical and Matthews is going to take them another lap to catch the rear of the grid. So we could be looking at only a 2-lap shootout to the checkered flag here. For the Ford GTs, they have their rivals, the Chevys, all lined up right behind them. And who knows, there could be some fighting. If there's any fighting between the Fords, it could give the Chevys a chance to try and nip them a bit. The Fords have been the dominant team today. While there has been a little bit of drama from Rebuilds having an accident and having to recover from that, they have been the dominant cars. Way better than everyone else on lap times, way better than everyone else on tire life. But now with this late race yellow, if either of them hiccup, choke, or anything on this restart, their grip on this lead could be compromised. Pace car is pulling away. I think we're going to go green this time by. So for Clinical and Matthews, they are not going to get a chance to regain any positions, but they will have the honor, I believe, of still finishing on the lead lap. But yeah, the pace car is pulling away. So we're going to be going green here with 3 laps to go. And no, we're not. No, we're not. The pace car is still on track. So it will be another lap. Never mind. I called that wrong. So it will be a 2-lap shootout. They'll get the green flag, then they'll come around and take the white flag, then they'll come around and take the checkered flag. Unsurprisingly, no one decides to pit right now. It's just not worth it. Might as well stay out on track and try to get track position if you can. CL and Clinical and Cars Matthews rushing around right now trying to catch the rear grid. I still don't think, I'm not 100% sure if Matthews is actually going to be able to catch the rear of the grid here. Especially considering he already has worn tires, so it's not like he's putting together the greatest laps he's ever had right now. Clinical will probably catch, though. Probably won't be until they get to the boot, but he's definitely going to catch. I don't know about Matthews, though. Guess the gaps are that big still. Real quickly, looking at the tire life of everyone on track here as we're preparing for a 2-lap shootout. Now, these yellow flag laps means that no one's going to be in awful tire life positions, but they will definitely be slightly suboptimal. 33% for Les Railgun. For Car Rebuilds in second. 33% as well. For Manuel Pedro, who got a free pit stop just as the yellow came out, he's only at 20%. Then right behind him is Mays, the leader of the Chevy contingency. 22%. Tempered Ship in 5th. 30%. So he did not get a pit stop out of it. And then Breezy Rain here in 6th. 23%, so he did get a free pit stop. SSR Quinn, highest of the Dodges, 32%. Then Rebirth Quinn, who had that lap 1 accident, 32% as well. Then TCPP Photo, the highest of the 2 Astons, 41%. Ooh, that's gonna be rough for him. Arrow in the lone Porsche entry, 34%. He also has a little bit of engine damage. Then Violet, the highest of those 2 Ferraris, 10%. So Violet has a significant tire life advantage, and I was wrong. Looks like Clinical and Matthews both have caught the field. Okay, so my focus is going to be on Manuel Pedro and Mays. I think, without a doubt, Railgun is going to run off with this. There's just too many cars for the Chevys to pass, and Railgun has legitimately been the fastest, but my focus is going to be on Pedro. Is Pedro going to try and fight forward, try to steal second from his teammate Rebuilds, or is he going to go full defensive mode, do everything he can to keep the Chevrolet team behind him? What is Mays going to do? He doesn't have the pace advantage, but with only 2 laps, it's not really going to matter pace. It's going to matter aggression and nailing the cars as best as possible. If he can put the bumper to these rivals, he might still be able to do something. Coming out of the final corner, pace car pulls off. 3 Fords, then 3 Chevys, then 2 Dodges. That is going to be your top 8 as we come to the green flag. We are underway for a green-white checkered shootout here at Watkins Glen. And immediately Pedro looks down to the inside. Pedro's gonna go on the offensive. Immediately gets side by side with car rebuilds as they go into the corner, but he leaves the outside line open. Pedro slides wide. Mays cracks the podium, and here comes Tempered Ship. Tempered Ship tries to remove. TCPP Photo has had an accident. Photo has had a crash back there farther back. Manuel Pedro is falling through the grid now. 2 Chevys have gone by him. It might make it 3 Chevys. What of Mays? Can Mays do anything to the Fords? The Fords are fighting, and Rebuilds is gonna go by Railgun here at the head of the field. Rebuilds steals the lead from Railgun all of a sudden, and Mays is on the back of his title rival as they go to turn number 9. All right, and now they come down to the boot section one more time. Breezy Reyes for Manuel Pedro has gotten back by Tempered Ship, but the Chevys are kind of getting back at the Fords just a little bit here. Car Rebuilds has stolen the lead from Railgun. Railgun, who has dominated the race, led more laps than anyone else most of the day, suddenly might see the win sneak away from him, and his title rival Mays is right behind. Railgun, he needs to try and fight back against Rebuilds, get back by him so he doesn't have to worry about the Drivers' Championship in the season finale next week. Now the Fords are already starting to pull away from Mays just a little bit. Although both these Fords are on more worn tires, it's not so excessively worn that the tire life gap is massively benefiting Mays, it seems. Mays needs the Ford GTs to start fighting with each other. Rebuilds leads over Railgun. Rebuilds, after having an accident just a little bit past the race's halfway point, it looked like just getting back on the podium would be a miracle. Now he has gotten back to the lead over Railgun, and Railgun is going to have to put on a somewhat of a fight for the Drivers' Championship next week. White flag in the air one more time around. Mays looks like he's going to be able to secure 3rd place. Manuel Pedro has caught Breezy Rain, trying to get some of the points back that he lost. He'll use the superior tire life, goes right back by. Mays is well up the order right now. Is there anything that Railgun can do to Rebuilds? Is he even going to be able to try to do anything to Rebuilds? Mays runs about 1.5 seconds off. Those Chevys just do not have anything for the Ford GTs. So yes, unless Rebuilds and Railgun crash, it is just going to be the 2 of them to the finish here. Fantastic lines through the bus stop chicane by Rebuilds and Railgun. Real quickly, checking this over. The penalties. What do the penalties look like? Oh, Pedro, 2.8 seconds of time penalties. That's going to hurt him. He really needs to try and outdrive those penalties. He's running out of time to do that right now. But that's not going to be an issue by the looks of it for Rebuilds or Railgun. Mays is losing ground to them right now. So it's going to be a Ford GT 1-2, but we don't know what the order is going to be. Is there going to be a fight? Is Railgun going to try and get by? If Railgun can move by and take the lead, he can pretty much lock up the championship, I imagine. Or at least be in a position where just starting next week's race will lock up the championship. But if he's only 2nd and Mays is 3rd, he'll still have to worry about a driver's title fight going into next week's finale. All right, coming out of the boot, there's really only one more overtaking zone left, but I don't think Railgun has anything for Rebuilds. Mays slides off farther back there. Manuel Pedro is in 4th. I think he's going to lose that to Breezy Rain here. Tempered Ship's also going to plummet down the order at least 1 spot or more. But as they come out of the final corner, it's going to be side by side, and Car Rebuilds pulls over by the looks of it. Car Rebuilds pulled over like what we saw in the Ferrari camps in 2002 and 2004. Rebuilds makes a point to lead all the way to the final corner before letting the team orders come through, coming out of the final corner, and then he pulled off to let Les Railgun through. Mays will come home in 3rd. Breezy Rain comes home in 4th. It's Indiel Violet in the Ferrari who recovers from running out of fuel to come home in 5th. Manuel Pedro fell all the way back to 6th, and Tempered Ship fell all the way back to 7th. So the Fords still ended up pulling in a lot more points than the Chevys, but it was not as destructive as we thought it would be. We're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll try to talk with some of our top finishers here at Watkins Glen. All right. Oh, sweet. Immediately, you both showed up. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
I hear you.
Nice. I can hear you as well.
All right. In the Xbox party, there will be a little box to click that will say include audio. Can you go ahead and hit that?
I already did.
All
Yeah,
right.
me too.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Watkins Glen. Our race is over, and your
James
winner
income.
is...
Oh,
Yep. Your
sorry.
winner is Les Railgun. Railgun, that was interesting to the end, but you've pretty much locked up the Drivers' Championship. Or if you've not locked it up, I think you're in a position where all you have to do is start next week and then you lock it up. But great race out there. What do you have to say about your run today?
It was solid. I wasn't expecting to be a second faster than everyone, on average, but yeah, rebuild and Manuel, it could have been a 1, 2, 3, but Manuel had issues there. Rebuild also almost crashed, but it was a very solid run. Yes. Only complaint I have was I don't know, I guess it was miscommunication with the safety car. I don't know what was going on, but it was good.
Well, yeah, twice the safety car missed picking you up. I've never seen that. I've seen it miss the leader once. I've never seen it happen twice there. All right, so Railgun, here's the big thing. Ford versus Chevrolet. Manufacturers Championship is still on the line. The Fords brought home a lot of points, and there's one race left. Do you think you could still steal the Manufacturer Championship from the Chevrolets next week?
Maybe it's gonna be up to the results next week. Yeah,
All right, well, I can't fault that.
it's very close.
All right, one more question. On the final lap, coming out of the final corner, we saw Rebuilds pull over and let you through. Was that team orders, or did he just do that on his own free will?
Nah, it was both of us decision.
All right. Okay, well, that explains that. You have anything else you want to say before we go ahead and let you go for the night?
There's not much to say. I guess I just hope that I do well next week. It's not really one of my best tracks. Yes, Marina. But I hope I'll get a good result. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll be keeping an eye on you guys. Great job on pretty much locking up the Drivers' Championship, Rogan.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Real quickly here, I'm going to try and send a invite out to Rebuilds as well, just in case. Maze, you came home third. Actually gained some positions over the course of the race, but you came home third and ahead of at least one of the 4 GTs as well. What do you have to say about your run out there, Maze?
Do you want to go ahead and interview Rebuilds right quick since he's here? He's in front of me.
All right, yeah. All right, then, yeah, I'll wait on you and I'll wait. You'll wait and I'll come to Rebuilds here. Rebuilds, can you hear me?
Rebuild.
He might still be in the... Rebuilds,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Can you include your audio in the Xbox party?
I just included.
Awesome. All right, Rebuilds. Crazy race. You started on the pole, fought with Railgun for a lead a bunch, crashed, drove back to a podium, late race restart, took the lead, and then still pulled over. There's so much stuff. What do you have to say about that race today, Rebuilds?
I think we were gonna do like a 3-2-1, but then Manuel did a a 2.8 penalty, so that was not on the cards in the final laps. But I just stopped focusing on the race, and I catched a little bit of grass, and then I couldn't stop in time. But it was a little bit lucky because that was the lap that I would stop, so I didn't lose too much time and I could catch Maze. Yeah, that was it. Good race.
Yeah, very good race. One more question, Rebuilds. Well, technically 2 more questions, but one more question. Last lap, last corner, you pulled off and let Railgun take the win. Team orders, or did you just decide to do that on your own?
Yeah, Real is. I think he is on first place in the championship, and I did I did Daytona. I couldn't do Spa, and I did this race, and he was a little bit faster on. I did a better quali, but he was faster on the race, and yeah, was just I just let him through.
All right, fair
Sportsmanship, I
enough.
think.
All right, last question. Next week, the season finale at Yas Marina. Do you think you guys in the Ford camp can steal the manufacturers championship from the Chevy team?
I think we can. The Chevy team has a good car for that race. A lot of acceleration uh, and top speed in the Chevy. But I think we can do something in the tuning department or just race pace and try to snatch the title.
All right, well, we'll be keeping an eye out on you guys, rebuilds. Wild race, but thanks for jumping in and talking with us.
Thank you.
All right, and now we want to go ahead and turn our focus to It's Maze here. Maze, frustrating day because you seem to be stuck in a permanent best of the rest mindset all day long, but you still came out of this race with a podium. What do you have to say about your run today?
Yeah. Um, in normal fashion, I arrived pretty late to practice. I couldn't even finish a lap. And then quali was my practice, and ultimately did a pretty good job there, I would assume. But yeah, the strategy, I didn't really think about anything. I didn't really run any laps and like do my due diligence. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna bank on Watkins Glen giving us a couple yellows and just start on softs and stay on softs. And luckily we got one pretty quick. Um, and that kind of set me up for just running a normal, I don't know, 7 laps where I didn't have to push the tires, but so hard for each stint. So yeah, and then I kind of got caught up in lap traffic. And honestly, even if I was up front, like the Florida's just so good here. I did some testing with it myself. It was just consistently better. So I knew that I had like my work set out for me, and something was going to have to work in my favor in order for me to pull out anything. I was honestly happy if I got top 5. But yeah, pulling out top 3, I'm thrilled. So yeah, all in all, I can't really complain. But yeah, pretty hectic, pretty interesting. The safety car, I don't know what was going on at the last safety car, but yeah, it kind of set us up for a little 2-lap shootout, which was fun. So yeah.
All right, with the way this race is played out, assuming I'm looking at the championship standings correctly, Drivers' Championship out of contention for you, sadly. Either Railgun's locked it up, or Railgun's in a position where he just has to start next week and he automatically locks it up. But Manufacturers' Championship, you guys came home and still brought home points for 3rd, 4th, and 7th place results. Do you guys think you can still hold on to the Manufacturers' Championship next week at Yas Marina?
I don't really know. Obviously, we're just going to have to let the race speak for itself, but I haven't really done any testing as far as like what car might be better. I know that the Chevy has more top end speed and excel, but the Ford handles amazing. So I don't know. I mean, I'd have to do some figuring, see what the points look like, and see what our availability is like. And all we can really do is just try the best we can, like Ford, of course, and see what happens.
All right, anything else you want to say before we go ahead and wrap up here then?
I'm all good, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, that is the word from our podium finishers. It looked like it was going to be a Ford lockout on the podium, but that ended up not being the case. Ford came home 1-2, Chevy's came home 3rd, 4th, a Ferrari, an Indy Violet, despite nearly flipping the car in qualifying and right now fueling the race, still came home in 5th. Just absolutely wacky day today. It's been a wacky weekend at Watkins Glen for both the Porsche Cup and the GT3 Pro Championship. But the series is not done. Next week, on Friday night and Saturday night, X League's Porsche Cup and GT3 Pro seasons will end. So please join us on Friday night and Saturday night next week for the conclusions of that. Until next time, I've been your host for today's broadcast in St. Year 13. Thank you everyone for joining us. Farewell and goodbye everyone.